Welcome to Spokane Talks Live. Welcome to Spokane Talks Live. Kent Adams here. Hope you're having a good day. We've got a fabulous program today. Really some great topics. Joining me first will be Todd Mielke, who is the GSI CEO, among other titles. You know him from being involved in the community here as a county commissioner and a number of other roles, including a student for your master's degree, which we were just talking about before we started the program. Erin Bishop, who is the founder and CEO of the Whatever Girls. You're going, what? You'll find out about that. Stephanie Cates, the Spokane County GOP chair, will be here next on Spokane Talks Live.
For the Inland Northwest most comprehensive sports report, think outside the porch with spokesman.com. For just 99 cents for the first month, you'll enjoy unlimited digital access to the news and sports news that affect you most. From EWU to WSU, from Northwest Preps all the way to the Seahawks, we're the local authority that makes sports in the Inland Northwest different than the rest, better than the rest. On your phone, on your desktop, and on your tablet. Subscribe to the digital experience with spokesman.com.
I'm Lexi Dyson. I am an archaeological technician for the Tahoe National Forest in California. Archaeology is perfect for me. It kind of combines all of my loves: history, my love of culture, my love of arts and science. As a girl, you don't really get told that science is for you. Like when you look on TV, you always see men in lab coats. I was a freshman at North Central. Randy James was one of my biggest cheerleaders. Randy was one of the first people who told me that you are good at this, you can do this. His favorite phrase that he would say to us that really stuck with me is, Yato, you are the ones. We're the ones who are going to make the difference. We're the ones who are going to make the change. You really start thinking, oh my gosh, yeah, we are. I am the one that's going to do this. The work we're doing in Tahoe definitely is going to be here for good. Our purpose here is to things and to make them last, to be here for good, for those future generations to enjoy. I love the variety of it and being able to see things that nobody else really gets to see, and having that touch of history and connection to people in the past. I am helping people by preserving their own heritage, their own resources. One of the things I love about STCU is using the STCU mobile app no matter where I go. It could be here in Tahoe National Forest, I could be back home, or it could be clear away across the country. I've been so impressed by their willingness to help and just be there where I need them to be, basically. It gives me a sense of home, even though I could be 3,000 miles away, 6,000 miles away, which I have done with STCU, and I've never looked back. I'm Lexi Dyson, and STCU is here for good.
See you tomorrow night, and thanks again for taking care of the painting.
I got this.
Bye.
Weekends are made for painting. Let the experts at Rada Paint take care of you.
Hi. This looks amazing.
Rada Paint, over 80 years of quality, tradition, and trust. Find it in every can.
Welcome to Spokane Talks Live. Kent Adams here, and welcome to a good day. I'm pleased to have back. You've worn a lot of hats, Todd Mielke, but former county commissioner, because that was the previous job. Now, CEO? Okay, of Greater Spokane Incorporated,
correct?
Otherwise known as GSI.
GSI.
I mean, let's keep it
Absolutely.
simple, right? I mean, for some of us, we got to keep it simple.
That's
okay.
Right. Your regional business development organization.
Right,
That's
right. How are things going?
Things are exciting. Things are going. You know, there are so many things going on in this community, but a lot of stuff going on within GSI as well.
Okay.
Certainly, a couple of things that we have. We launched a program at the beginning of the year called Greater Minds.
Yes, we covered that here. Yeah.
And so one of the things that we care deeply about is how do we make sure that we've got top talent in this community?
Yes.
And the people that are here, how do we help refine their talents?
Yeah.
So
it does come back to education, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we launched a program, and this whole spectrum starts at early education. It runs through the K through 12 system, the higher education system, but also what do you do when you're an adult?
Yeah,
and you want to refine those skills. And you and I
because
were
you can't
talking
just
about that.
take off 3 years to go get your degree.
No. In fact, I just was mentioning to you, I finished my MBA here just a little over 2 years ago, and and just walking away from life, getting a Volkswagen van on the edge of campus. So it's not an option. So you've got to balance a lot of things.
Yeah.
So we started a program called Greater Minds. We launched it in January.
Right.
This program is designed to assist working adults who started a post-secondary certificate or degree, and then life came along and they weren't able to finish it.
Yeah.
So how do we help them go back and finish that?
Right.
And it's a huge benefit for them. It's a huge benefit for their employer. So we launched the program, and we're working with major employers. We're working with the higher education community. We have more than 120 adults.
120
that we're working with right now who are carving out their path to go back to school. And nearly 40 of them are starting back school this fall, and we're helping them navigate through that process.
Oh, Lord, that's
so
great.
It's exciting.
And it's not just for their current employer. It could be for a future employer that could benefit too. And someone might say, well, if I'm helping to pay as an employer and then they leave, but you also may get somebody else that all of a sudden has realized they want to take their talents and work with you. So it benefits the overall business community, and that's really what you're about.
Absolutely, but even for the existing employer, the notion is if you're really doing well at succession planning, then what you're doing is you're grooming your employees for success. You're grooming them to be able to step into positions higher in the organization. And typically, one of the signs of a failure of a succession plan is when you have to go outside. And there are legitimate reasons for doing that. But certainly, the option is laying the groundwork so your employees have the opportunity to step in those management positions and those supervisory positions.
Well, and as an employee, how grateful will you be to your employer for helping you get that certificate?
For investing in you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We were talking a little bit before we went on, too, that there seemed to be that forward thrust, if you will, years ago, and some of the major companies kept up, but some of the smaller ones had in the recession to kind of cut back a little bit because of dollars. I can either pay you as an employee, or I can pay for your education, and you're not going to have. You can't do both because the recession hurt everybody.
It did.
And so, are you starting to see other employers now come back and be supportive of this?
Yes. I certainly saw it in my MBA program.
Which you paid for yourself.
I did. I want to be very clear because I've had people accuse me of that
using county funds.
The county funds. That I was a county commissioner, and I will tell you right now, it all came out of my own pocket, and it is still coming out of my own pocket, and will for quite some time.
Yeah, and that 1930 car that you drive proves it.
That's right.
Or is it the 50s? Yeah,
it's the 30s. So yeah. So certainly, what we're looking at is we are beginning to see. Especially in a very, very tight labor market. Employers are saying, how can we be attractive to not only recruit employees, but retain employees? And when we can't find people for vacancies that we have, can we train somebody that we already have in the organization who's a proven employee, maybe to switch positions? If I'm a manufacturer, I may have somebody on my production floor that is just a stellar employee. But if I can't find somebody to fill in an accounting position, and I find out that person's got 2 to 3 years of accounting education under their belt, I want to invest in maybe helping them finish that up and bringing them in. So I think it's a great investment. We are beginning to see more and more employers that are contributing to their employee success and are investing in that success through education opportunities. Here in the Greater Minds program that we're conducting, we've seen a number of entities come in not only as sponsors of that program, but we're also partnering with many of the major employers and trying to get the word out. It's whether you're a major employer, a medium employer, or a small employer. We want to work with you, and if you want us to come in and meet with your employees over a lunch, over an afternoon meeting, and provide information about their opportunities to go back and finish that certificate or degree, we're there. So give us a call.
You mentioned something which I think is kind of interesting, and I don't know that I've had a conversation with anyone recently, and that's a tight employee market. Very tight. Where are things going the next few years? Because you kind of, you've got your finger on the pulse there.
So I would say that if you step back and do the big picture, one of the biggest population segments we've had come through in our recent history is the baby boomer generation.
You're looking at first year.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And so, so as the baby boomer population transitions into retirement, there's the Gen Xers like me, relatively small group of us, as we often the forgotten group. but I'm
Does
not
Gen X exist? Okay.
And then we have the millennials, and there's a lot of attention on the millennials. But even at the height of that population segment coming through, there will not be as many millennials as there were baby boomers.
Okay.
So, we simply don't have the same number of bodies to fill all those positions. And
as we start to expand,
right,
as we bring manufacturing back, as we grow businesses here
right,
in Spokane that we've been doing.
Right. So every community in this nation is competing for talent and trying to figure out, how do they provide that talent pool to their current employment base as well as their future employers are trying to recruit. So that's the game that everybody's in across the nation as communities. Spokane is uniquely situated. Young people tend to, as soon as they get done with high school, they want to go to the metropolitan areas where they're just alive 24 hours a day and all that. But it's relatively short-lived. So those primary markets are experiencing some huge, challenges with trying to retain their population in the workforce.
Right.
And I'm not even sure they see it at this point. But everything from cost of living, cost of housing, to rent.
Yeah, you graduate from the University of Washington, and you look at something in Seattle, and you go, what's a low-cost house? $500,000?
Yes.
For a fixer-upper?
With 5 roommates?
And yeah, exactly. And what can you do in Spokane with $500,000?
Right.
You can get that fixer for under $100,000 in Spokane and not have an hour drive and everything else that goes with it. And if you want the waterfront, you can get on an airplane and go over there every so often.
Absolutely. So what we're finding is while there may be an initial insurge of young people into those primary metropolitan markets, the question is, can they retain them when those millennials, the young people are saying, I think I want to start settling down now. So Association of Washington Business just did a survey in Central Puget Sound not too long ago. They surveyed millennials and said, do you plan to still be here working in this area 5 years from now? Close to 60% of them said no.
Really?
And the highest reasons they cited were cost of housing, both rent and purchase, congestion, and then a number of other issues. And they want to have a purposeful life and be able to also experience life outside of work.
Right.
So what happens is we have a great opportunity as a second tier market to be able to recruit not only the talent who said, this is where I can afford to live, but this is where I want to live to be able to balance this, but then the companies as well. So Spokane, the fastest growing segment of our workforce right now are 18 to 34-year-olds.
Really?
And so not only is it the fastest growing segment, we're growing faster than the national average.
And they're not just coming to be employees, they're becoming employers.
Correct.
I mean, with the Startup Spokane from GSI and others, there's a lot of that. They're willing to take a chance.
Right. And it's not just students either, because part of the way we measure this, so at Whitworth University has some great numbers that their incoming students, I want to say 88%, something like that, are from outside a 100-mile radius. And then there was some unreal statistic about how many of their graduates were still within a 100-mile radius 5 years after graduation. So higher education institutions like Whitworth are doing a phenomenal job of importing talent into this community. But what we're finding is we would think that a lot of the young people are coming just for higher education. Well, most people that went away from home to go to college never switched their driver's license. They kept their home address.
Yes.
We're measuring the increase in millennials in the workforce and in this community from license forfeitures. They're coming into the Department of Licensing and they're giving up their driver's license with their old address and putting a new local address on it. So that shows a signal of a little bit more permanence than simply being here to be a student.
Wow. We have an election coming this fall.
We do.
Perhaps it's not as sexy sometimes as we've had before.
It's still important.
Like last year with the president and a U.S. senator and a congresswoman and state reps and all of that. However, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's city council, it's board of educations, it's still a local, and everything in politics is local. And one of the key to me is this Proposition 2.
Yes.
And I've taken the position, I know Ozzy has taken the position, a lot of business community and business leaders have taken the position that it's a bad thing, and far beyond being a bad thing, it's unconstitutional. I mean, Todd, I was not a great student, okay? The best year I had was U.S. history in 8th grade because I had a teacher that gave us the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence. We read it from the beginning to end and all of that. And I remember a lot, and I carry on my iPad the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. I think it's that important.
Right.
It does not take a legal scholar to figure out that this is unconstitutional.
Right.
So what position has GSI, I think I know,
Right.
but what position has GSI taken on this?
Certainly. We have historically taken this position. We reaffirmed it again this week when our board met. We're in opposition to Proposition 2 in Spokane.
Right.
For those that don't recall what this is all about,
yes.
This is the one that attempts to regulate types of products coming through our community on a common carrier, in this case, the railroads.
Right.
So, and it's under the guise that this initiative will create a safer community and those kinds of things. And I take issue with a lot of this.
Right.
So as we work our way through it, so what this does is this attempts to regulate interstate commerce.
Yes.
The free flow of goods throughout the United States, and common carriers are required by definition to be able to move products throughout the United States without a lot of ability to decide which products they will carry and which ones they won't.
Right.
So in this case, it's rail. And what this initiative would like to do is impose a penalty of $261 per rail car for every car that is handling either coal or oil. And again, if this is really about public
so we
safety,
push them off to the streets?
We push them off to the streets.
Okay.
So instead of a railroad, a train coming through, where it's restricted traffic, it's all on the rail line. Instead, we're going to put it on I think the conversion rate is over 100 semi-trucks for every train. And I don't know how many trains we have coming through this community every day, but for every train, we're going to put another 100 semi-trucks on the road who are carrying the same products.
What worries me, Todd, is that if this is passed, then we as a city and taxpayers, because it all comes back on us as taxpayers, will then have to defend it in a court of law.
Right.
Is there any hope that might, assuming it might be passed, and I honestly feel that Spokane citizens are smart enough to see the fallacy in Prop 2 and vote no. However, we've seen some crazier things done in elections, okay?
So let me first disclose, I'm not an attorney, but I've been around these ballot items for a long time, most of my professional life.
Well, you're old.
And I am getting older every day. And so the issue is typically if something, let's start with the notion that the first cost is running the election.
Yes.
The minute this thing goes on the ballot and the community is required to hold an election, the citizens pay for that.
Yeah.
If it's a county-wide election in Spokane County, the cost is about $300,000 to put that on. So the first one is, if we knew ahead of time that something was unconstitutional on its face, why would we spend $300,000 of taxpayers' money to put it on the ballot in the first place?
And things like this
have
been
potholes. Couldn't we do? Couldn't we do something else?
And
with
haven't
that money?
we in the past judges found it to be taken off the ballot because they find it's going to be unconstitutional?
Some
and
haven't, right? Some have and some haven't,
right?
And the debate is typically if there's harm, then you can prevent it from going on the ballot. So some judges will say that the harm doesn't occur unless it passes, and then that's when organizations are most likely to be impacted. Others would say the harm begins when the taxpayers are asked to foot the bill for something that on its face is unconstitutional. Right. So that's a debate for legal scholars to have on this. But I certainly think that we look at it from a couple perspectives. From the true business perspective, our job is to protect and grow jobs in this community.
Right.
Primary rail lines that cross the United States in the northern half.
Our job producers.
And they come through Spokane. Both the Burlington Northern Main Line and the UP Main Line come through Spokane.
Right.
If you're trying to connect the West Coast, the Port of Seattle, the Port of Tacoma, to Chicago and beyond, it's coming through Spokane. And the fact that it comes through Spokane means that Spokane businesses have more opportunity to move their own goods and their own supplies in and out via rail. Right. So that's an important consideration. if you reduce the amount of rail traffic coming through this community and it goes elsewhere, it crosses the southern United States, goes into Canada, there's less opportunity for businesses locally to be able to move their goods.
Right.
The second piece of this is, our Constitution, our U.S. Constitution is based on the free movement of goods across our nation. If you think about this, Washington State is the primary state. Above all others, we do more import-export than any other state. As those goods come into Washington State, 70% get transported beyond our borders. Okay. So that's an important thing. If every community across the United States could place its own local regulations, how do we fare? I mean, we're a huge agricultural state. Yeah. We're a huge technology state. And
I've talked to some of our wheat growers and others who are really pissed off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So if you start putting limitations on the ability to move certain types of apples, certain types of cherries or wheat or any of those products
on the people side, we would call that discriminatory.
Absolutely. Absolutely, we would. But it will have an impact ultimately on the economy of the state. So again, from a purely policy perspective, we believe that we should be able to move legal products throughout the United States with as free movement as possible.
Yeah, yeah.
And so
I've got to ask a question because you have the credentials to maybe help answer this. The local GOP, and we're going to have Stephanie Cates on a little bit following you or a little bit later, has selected 3 candidates for the replacement of Shelley O'Quinn.
Right.
Okay, and the legal process is that the local party verifies that they're Republican and picks 3 to pass on, and now the 2 remaining county commissioners decide who they're going to pick to join them on the council. You've been in that seat
many times,
and so a little insight on what's important to the 2 county commissioners. What is their job right now to do?
Certainly. So the first thing is these occasions occur, these situations occur when you have an incumbent elected official that decides to leave office for any reason.
Right.
And really the notion
somebody
is...
do that?
Certainly. Yeah. Certainly. And because life happens.
Yes.
And stuff. So what happens then is what the law says is that you appoint somebody to fill the remainder of the term. Right. And depending on the timing of that appointment determines whether there's a special election to get to the end of the term. But there's you have to have, the criteria says, it has to be somebody that comes from the same party
of the person leaving,
right?
Okay,
and that represents those that lives in the district of those they will represent.
Okay.
And
so this would be the second.
Correct.
Okay.
So it is that commissioner district.
So it's a Republican from the second
correct
district.
That's the criteria.
Okay.
So Shelley O'Quinn. It is the second second
I know.
commissioner district.
I wanted to say that too.
Second commissioner district. Yeah. And she was a Republican while she was in office, and so you got to have a Republican.
Right.
So this is a 2-phase process.
Okay.
The party's first obligation, and they play the first role, is to make sure that the first part of the law is met, that the replacement is of the same party.
Okay.
So they get to vet all the people who are interested in filling that seat.
They can ask questions.
They get to ask questions.
Look at their experience.
Absolutely. But at the end of the day, what they get to do is they get to decide the party credentials of that person.
Okay.
Based on their history, based on their past, based on their philosophy.
Okay.
Do they meet that threshold? And the party gets to choose their top 3 candidates. Nowhere in the law does it say they will prioritize at all.
Okay.
It just, they take a vote and they advance the top 3 names.
Okay.
Now, what happens is people say, well, who got more votes than the other?
Okay.
And they will interpret
that as a priority. And you can kind of figure out,
They'll interpret that as a priority, but the issue is what the law says is the parties decide the top 3 candidates and advance those names to the county commissioners.
So the 2 county commissioners
have a different
3
job.
People that have been declared to be Republican of good standing, and now they're in a whole different ballgame.
Right. So the county commissioner's job is having had the party do their job. The county commissioner's job then is to evaluate which of those 3 names is the most qualified and most able to fulfill the requirements and the duties of that position. And nobody knows better then incumbent county commissioners, how their time is divided, what skill sets they need,
right.
And those kinds of things. And so that's the important part of this decision. Is you've got 3 names, so go back and decide, what is the most important factors to fulfill in somebody's talents and skills to be able to fill that position. And
so they're going through that right now.
They're going through that right now, and
they've interviewed the candidates, the 3 candidates.
They have. There's nothing that denies them the ability to go back and do a follow-up interview. They have a certain number of days to be able to do it, and I think maybe Stephanie remembers the number. I want to say it's 60 days, but for some reason I'm doubting myself. But I believe they have 60 days once the position is actually vacant to be able to fill it.
Right.
If they're not able to reach agreement,
the governor,
then it goes to the governor for the governor to decide. And the governor is not of the same party, and so oftentimes, is it the governor's just going to?
They won't pick the best choice for the other 2 candidates,
or is the governor in some states and in some occasions, the governor will choose what he or she perceives to be the weakest candidate, thinking that the governor's party can then defeat them in the next election. So I'm hopeful that the 2 incumbent county commissioners are going to be able to reach a consensus.
Good.
I hope that they also reach out to some broader interests and just bounce some
I think that would make sense.
Because again, even though this person is supposed to be from the 2nd commissioner district, remember,
once elected,
they run by district in the primary, they run county-wide in the general. So the issue is you're trying to find somebody that meets the needs of the entire county and the entire electorate of the county.
And I'm kind of the mind where I think at some point, again, we need to look at maybe 5 commissioners. I'm not sure. I agree 100% with it.
I've always advocated for that.
But I'm thinking because here we are with 2.
Right.
Making a decision. And I get it. They want to bring in somebody with additional, but they also might want to bring in with like minds.
Right.
And I think for the 3-person commission to bring in some talent and some expertise that they don't have would be more important. But I get it from their point of view too. It's I want someone who's always going to be with me. If the 2 of them get it on, it's okay. I mean, welcome to politics, and you know this.
I've been 2 things. I've been a strong advocate for 5 instead of 3. I think it brings in more perspectives and results in better decision making. The other thing that I would really push for is to continue to make sure, even though you cuss about it at election time as a candidate, I would continue to make sure that at the general election they run countywide and have to face all of the constituencies. Because I think one of the mistakes that's been made in cities when they divvy it up by district, they fight over which services are in their own district, and they lose that universal vision,
the broader perspective.
That broader perspective. And I think that's important if the community's going to move forward.
We could go on for another 2 hours. You have to go to work.
Yes.
I've got to bring on other guests. So in the last minute we have, I want to talk about something that's really kind of fun and exciting that's coming up, and that's your annual meeting.
Annual meeting's coming up at the end of September 27th. And so people who are interested in coming to the annual meeting, please contact Greater Spokane Incorporated and ask us about it.
You have a website?
Absolutely, we do. So Greater Spokane Incorporated. Our keynote speaker this year is a guy by the name of Bruce Katz. He is a Centennial Scholar at the Brookings Institution. He's the author of The Metropolitan Revolution. And what he picks up on is this notion that through a lot of federal and state regulations, we have more and more people concentrated in metropolitan areas. And that creates a whole new dynamic. It challenges us to find solutions and be innovative, and so he's going to talk about that.
That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Very interesting to talk about.
Because we're growing more and more as a metropolitan area.
As you shove people into tighter and tighter spaces and expect them to have a good outcome, we have to become very creative in making sure that
Another reason for 5 commissioners.
We all play well in the sandbox. So yes, and we all can get along and get our needs met. So,
Todd Mielke, thank you for coming today.
Great
information. We're going to see you soon. Best of luck on the, what date is this, September
27th.
27th. All right, great. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Erin Bishop and the Whatever Girls right after this.
Hi, it's Edward here at RuggedTrainingCompany.com. And it's boot season again, and we have every boot to fit your need, from Chippewa to Carolina to Wolverine to Morel, Danners, even Boulets. So come on down and check us out at RuggedTrading.com. Hope to see you there.
Welcome to Tom Sawyer Country Coffee.
Tom Sawyer Country Coffee only roasts the finest organic coffee for our signature blends. Enjoy a cup at our coffee shop and local businesses and organizations across the region.
I'm Tom Sawyer, and we choose the Pacific Northwest.
Last year alone, Avista customers saved over 53 million kilowatt hours of energy. Enough to power more than 4,000 homes for an entire year. Way to save, everyone. Way to save. Find your way to save at avistautilities.com.
What? You haven't been to the library lately? Stop in today and see that the library is more than books. Spokane County Library District facilities feature on-site technology, including Wi-Fi, computers, and printers, as well as free use of meeting rooms. The Library District offers events and programs for all ages, from story times to career development and employer classes to Social Security workshops. Our staff is well trained and happy to help. Find out more about your library at scld.org. Thanks and welcome back to Spokane Talk Live, and I hope you're having a good day. 86 degrees outside. I think we're headed to about 90 or so, and it's nice out there. Erin Bishop from the Whatever Girls. Whatever. Now, I know a little bit about what it is you do because yesterday you did something, and we'll talk about that here in the studio. And it sounds like it's really bad or something, but it's good. But first of all, in listening to the podcast yesterday that you were recording, I learned a lot more about you and your experience. And so let's go back a little bit and talk about how you got to where you are now with the Whatever Girls.
Well, you know, I'm not one to stay in problem mode very long. I like to go to a
I've
solution.
noticed that. Yeah. I ask you to do something, and there it is.
Exactly, exactly. Well, I'm just kind of going from my past experiences and wanting to invest in the lives of, well, first and foremost, my own daughter.
Right.
And then in the lives of other girls, because we all have similar issues. And so I figured if it works for her, it works for the masses. And so here we are.
All right. So why did you create the Whatever Girls? What was the need that you saw out there?
Well, really, it comes down to the felt need that girls need a sense of community and belonging.
Okay.
And if they don't have something solid and positive, they're going to go for something negative. And so I just intentionally built this framework that Grace, my daughter, could have as she went through her teen years and provided it for other girls.
Right. Now, how did that work with Grace?
It worked great.
Okay, now she's an adult.
She's 19.
She's married.
She's married.
And she has a husband serving our country in Afghanistan.
She does.
Yeah.
Ryan.
And so, yeah.
We're very proud of him.
Ryan or Brian?
Ryan.
Ryan, okay. Our prayers are with him because it's tough over there, but I think some comrades are going to join him pretty soon to help beef up our security. Because it all comes back to us if we don't solve the problem there.
That's right.
But please, in your next communication with him, tell him we're all praying for him and thank you for his service.
I will do that.
And for Grace, because he's with his buddies, he's busy every day. But for her, she's kind of sometimes the forgotten warrior, isn't she?
Absolutely.
How does she handle that? I'm just curious.
Well, she stays busy. She has a part-time job at a gym that she really likes.
Okay.
And she's finding ways to keep herself busy. And I'm really proud of her because, like you said, there are the warriors that get left behind.
Yeah.
It's the family.
It is.
And they are a solid support system, you know, serving our country right alongside with their soldiers.
Yeah. So true. And I find myself every so often going, we keep forgetting about that part of our military, and we shouldn't. We really shouldn't. Okay, so now she's 19. She's had a little bit of chance to grow up, to get married, to evaluate how the Whatever Girls, the things that you do there, have affected her. What feedback do you get from her?
Well, here's a quick story.
Okay.
We launched a fundraiser in July. Not even 5 minutes after I hit post on the internet, she was my first donor.
Wow.
So she believes in what mom's doing.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Isn't that, you know, we do a lot for our kids and we do a lot for our kids in our kids in the community, but to have her do that says so loudly, Mom, you're doing it right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was meaningful.
Okay, so now you formed this group. Tell me give some details, because you've been going for a few years.
Right.
And we'll talk about what's going down the road, but what is it all about? What was you told the story the other day about your first meeting.
Yep.
And how successful that was. Tell that again.
Yeah, our first meeting.
I was impressed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, our first meeting, I mean, I really wanted to do something intentional. And so, like I mentioned in the podcast that's launching on September 1st, that I sent out invitations.
Nice little promo there.
And thank you. I learned it from you. And cross promotion there.
Yeah.
And anyways, we sent out invitations, and the very next day, a mom messaged me or called me rather and just said, I've been praying literally right when the mailman brought the invitation, I was praying and crying for my daughter who has been bullied to find a good set of friends. And the invitation came. And so our first meeting was just me sharing my vision. I had a living room of Grace and her friends and moms, and they had...
Did they think you were crazy?
No, they loved it.
Oh, good.
They loved it. I mean, the constant feedback is, I wish I had something like this when I was a kid, and we so need this. Those are the two main things I always hear.
Wow, wow. So now what has it become?
A worldwide ministry.
Yeah.
I never thought that, I'm just a mom on
something
a mission
that you
to
started,
make a difference.
Yeah,
in my living room.
Yeah.
But isn't that the American dream?
It is.
Right there
it is.
happening.
It is. It is. How are people stepping up to help expand this ministry? Because it's one thing to have a group of friends here in Spokane, but what's it like to go to other states to expand it, not only in our country, but worldwide as an opportunity?
Absolutely. Well, it's great in this age of social media.
Yeah.
I always have people messaging me and asking, how can I get involved? How can I plug my daughter in? Can I start a group? Can I join a group? Do you need volunteers?
And the answer is?
And the answer is yes.
Yes.
Yeah. We definitely need help, and we need support. And we need moms to lead their daughters.
Yeah.
We've abdicated so much of our parental responsibility to the schools and the government.
I was going to say, we push so much on school districts and others, and we can all sit and talk about the philosophy of that, and I think we've done way too much of that. But here's an opportunity to stand up and to bring it back to home,
right,
and to bring it back to your own daughter. And it's not just for moms and daughters, is it?
Right. We also involve dads.
Okay.
Because if you put a teenage girl in the equation, she's going to have possibly some father issues.
Yeah.
I mean, fatherlessness is an epidemic in our country.
Yeah, we keep talking about for the boys, but it's for the girls as well, right?
Yeah. Oh, it absolutely is. A girl gets so much of her self-esteem from her father, the way that he either does or does not spend time with her, invests in her life. Psychologists have said, girls do better in school. They do better mentally, emotionally, physically if their dad is invested in their lives.
Right. I think of Steve, who's our producer in there, who has 2 granddaughters, who makes a real point every week, almost every day, to spend time. In fact, he went and got his granddaughter out of kindergarten or school or whatever it was to take her out to watch the solar eclipse.
Oh, wow.
Okay? Now, Dad isn't around, but Grandpa Steve took care of it. And those are the things that we can do, because Dad isn't always around.
Right.
And it's not the young lady's fault.
No,
okay?
it's not.
But there are other ways to step up, a neighbor or somebody at the church or synagogue or wherever, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Tell me what's happening this fall. You've got a few things going on.
We do. Well, and speaking of Steve, I would like to give him and his granddaughters free tickets to our Princess Ball.
He says like this.
Okay,
all right.
Awesome. So that is on Saturday, November 18th at the Lincoln Center. It's our 5th annual one. We started it 4 years ago. Fifth. I know. I can't believe I blinked and it was the 5th.
Yeah.
Last year we had over 350 dads and daughters.
Oh, wow.
And we started at, 80, 90 people coming. And then, the word gets out and it's a really fun, casual, but very, very elegant time.
But a chance to say you're special, young lady.
Right. Yeah. And there's sometimes I've encountered dads that say, well, that's not really my thing. And I say, you know what? it needs to become your thing.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's her thing. And
yeah.
that's what matters at
Get
the end
all
of the
dressed
day.
up and
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We have guys come in suits, but we have guys come in jeans too, and that's fine as well.
Yeah. But she's going to get dressed up, that.
Absolutely. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they totally do.
Okay. So if people want more information and they aren't as lucky as Steve, okay, how do they get tickets?
They can go to our website.
Okay.
It's thewhatevergirls.com.
Okay.
And we've got an event section they can click on and purchase tickets and get more information.
And what's the cost to go?
It's $40 per father-daughter couple. Each additional daughter is $20.
That's really inexpensive.
It is. It is.
That can't be covering all the costs of that.
It's not. It's not. So we just step out in faith and know that the costs will get covered, but we do need event underwriters.
Okay, yeah.
Did you know that Father's Day was founded in Spokane?
Yes.
In 1910?
Yes.
So I believe that Spokane has, it's set apart for fatherhood, an anointing from the Lord that really gives me hope that Spokane will once again be known for the father's influence in their children's lives.
So important. Really so important.
Very.
Thank you, Erin.
One
more time on the website, because that's where you can get everything.
Yeah, it's thewhatevergirls.com.
And you have a Facebook site as well.
We do. We have Facebook. So if you go to our website, thewhatevergirls.com, look for our social media buttons.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
For
Good to see you. 2 days in a row.
No, thank you.
See you tomorrow. No, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Stephanie Cates from the Spokane GOP right after this.
Last year alone, Avista customers saved over 53 million kilowatt hours of energy. Enough to power more than 4,000 homes for an entire year. Way to save, everyone. Way to save. Find your way to save at avistautilities.com.
See you tomorrow night, and thanks again for taking care of the painting.
I got this.
Bye.
Weekends are made for painting. Let the experts at Rada Paint take care of you.
Hi. This looks amazing.
Rada Paint, over 80 years of quality, tradition, and trust. Find it in every can.
To find the right home for you, you'll work with your realtor to compare the properties you're interested in, analyze the market, and figure out a reasonable offer price. And now, here you are, ready to make an offer. Yay, you! Here's how it works. First, you'll complete an offer sheet which your realtor will then present to the owner. Sometimes, a nice note to the owner can help your offer stand out. Butter them up. Tell them how much you love their garden, that it reminds you of gardening with your grandmother as a child. Do not mention you're gonna bulldoze it and put in a pool. The owner may accept the offer, reject it, or counter. It's important to be in close contact with your realtor during the negotiation process so any changes can be reviewed. Your realtor is like your consigliere, and that makes you the Don. Once your offer is finally accepted, there are usually some contingencies that must be met in order to keep the contract alive. Inspections are totally common in real estate transactions. They include termite checks, surveys to determine boundaries, appraisals to determine value for lenders, title reviews, and structural inspections. This stuff is mind-numbingly fascinating. But you know what's even more fascinating? Actually getting your new house.
Welcome back to Spokane Talks Live. Kent Adams here, and in the dull, what color is that?
It's fuchsia, I think.
Fuchsia? Okay, because I know if I said whatever color it was, the woman always corrects me because I'm color dumb. I'm not color blind, but I'm color dumb. And my wife can give you all kinds of stories of when I come home at night, and did you really wear that tie with that suit? Now, you've never done anything like that, right?
No, but I wanted to provide a contrast with the black background.
Yeah.
I knew that was in the cards
Soon after
today.
we put the black up, Sulani shows up one day in a black outfit.
Right.
Yeah. She almost wore my extra blue shirt that's in the closet in there, just in case I spill something like coffee. How are you?
I'm well, thanks.
And what hat are you wearing today? You're wearing the Spokane County GOP
I am wearing
chair
that
hat. Yeah.
Yes.
How's it going?
It's going well.
Has this been a fun year or what?
It's been an interesting year.
Oh, she takes the safe way out. Yeah.
But we're having some fun.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Do you just want to get on Facebook every so often and tell some of those characters out there what it's really like?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, and you do it sometimes.
It's fun. You know, I think Republicans are on the right side of history.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
No.
Yeah,
and it's, you know, I actually. And some of my Republican friends might chastise me for this. I'm actually worried for the Democrat Party. You know, you look back and remember all the discussion was with Trump and everything else, how bad the Republican Party was going to get trounced, and it was the pundits were all saying this could be the end of the Republican Party.
Right.
I'm fearful that we're going to lose the Democrat Party because the fringe have taken over. And you look at some of what's going on out there. Now, one of my liberal friends will get on Facebook and say, well, you're not very objective. No, I think I am. And I want two strong parties because I think the discussion and when they work together on things that are good for our country, you know, is good for us as a country. But to just say no to everything.
Or the personal attacks.
Yeah.
That's what people don't like to see.
Yeah.
And that's what we've got way too much of.
Right.
Now. So I mentioned history.
Yes.
And, you know, it's interesting. I've been delving into history, and we're seeing a lot of historical monuments.
Now, you go back to the dinosaurs with me, right?
Right.
Okay.
But so we have a day coming up this Saturday. It's Women's Equality Day. It's always on August 26th.
Okay.
And it was designed to commemorate women's right to vote.
What? We've given women the right to vote?
Yes, we have.
Whose fault was that?
Well, it's the Republicans' fault.
Figures.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to talk about, really, because
see, I'm not sure I knew that.
It's a part of history that most people don't know.
Okay.
It's not really highlighted. We want to highlight it more.
Yeah.
So actually, it was a 40-year battle to get women the right to vote.
Wow.
And it started with Republicans.
Okay.
And Republicans were responsible for passing it. So in 1878, Senator Erin from California introduced this amendment, this equal suffrage amendment. He met Susan B. Anthony on a train.
Okay.
And, you know, of course, Susan B. Anthony, famous women's suffrage.
For the coin.
Yeah. You're right. So, and she was doing her own crusade to get women the right to vote, but they crafted this language, and Senator Sargent introduced it in 1878. And the other party voted it down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
Well, they wanted to vote down civil rights and a few other things too.
Right. Yeah. That is a part of the history. So, the Republicans kept reintroducing it, and slowly the tide turned. And this is taking place over decades.
Yeah.
The tide turned, and Republicans won both the House and the Senate in 1918.
Okay.
So we were closer to women getting the right to vote. And in 1919, it finally passed.
Wow.
So that's over a 40-year battle to get women the right to vote.
But sometimes the best things take a struggle.
Right.
You know, I mean, you think about it. If you look at the Civil War, and you look at some other things that we've had to go through as a country, not a perfect country, but so much better than I think any other place in the world, that we have to struggle sometimes to make it to that next level. Yeah. So what's going on to celebrate?
Well, to celebrate it, you know, we believe as Republicans that there is no better place to be a woman than in the United States of America. We have equal rights. And we want to celebrate those equal rights. Of course, the right to vote, which Republicans won. And I will add, by the way, that the very first presidential election that women got to vote in, 8 million women got to vote. They cast their ballot overwhelmingly for the Republican Warren G. Harding.
Okay.
So, so flash forward to today. You know, it's important to take a look back at where we came from. But today, women enjoy, you know, great rights in this country: private property rights, gun rights, education choice. You know, the right to keep more of what we earn.
Supreme Court. I mean, you know, run for president.
Exactly.
Run for vice president.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Republicans have a long history of that too. So we are, as a Spokane GOP, are embarking on this branding campaign, this TV and social media campaign to celebrate equal rights for women, and what the Republican Party has brought. So actually, right now, people can go on to our Facebook page.
Okay.
You know, open up a new browser so you're not, you know, going away from this program as you're watching. But go to our Facebook page, Spokane GOP, facebook.com/Spokane GOP.
Right.
And there you'll see our new ad. It's a 60-second ad.
Oh, nice.
With a variety of women in the community, different ages, different occupations.
Right.
A diverse cross-section of Republican women in Spokane.
You know, in Spokane, and I look back, I was just telling Todd, who was here earlier, you know, I celebrate 41 years here in Spokane. I literally started across the street at the then Chamber of Commerce across the street. My wife points out my career has kind of come back to the same spot.
Hey.
I started at 1020 Riverside. Now I'm at 1023 across the street.
Perfect.
So she says, you must be exiting by now. Well, I'm old enough to, yeah. But you know, to look at some of the women in this town over the years that I've seen take more and more responsibility and more leadership for some of the good things that have happened here in Spokane.
Of course.
And I think of my years at Washington Water Power, now at Vista, and other places at KHQ and Fox 28 and so forth, of how what used to be the old boys club now is no longer. You know, the smart women, the leader women, they're there leading these organizations or high up in management. And so I maybe there's some discrimination going on out there, but I'm not seeing it. Am I just blind to that, or?
I'm not seeing it. I mean, there's still subtle things. You know, you're always going to have that. But look, we have.
I even open a door for a woman once in a while. Is that allowed anymore? I'm not sure.
It's allowed.
Oh, okay.
There are still some women who appreciate that.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I don't want. I don't want to be politically incorrect.
Right.
Like I'm going to be politically correct, right? Yeah. People who know me know I'm not.
Yeah, but we have great leadership in the Republican Party in the state. Our state party is run by Susan Hutchison.
Yes.
And actually this weekend, the entire state party will converge on Spokane for our 3 times a year meeting.
Okay.
So this will be our last meeting of the year, and we'll be right here in Spokane. So what a perfect day to celebrate women's equality with our wonderful women leadership in the state party.
Now I want to ask you, when did you take office?
December.
December.
Last
Okay.
year.
So now, is it a one term? Can you run again?
If they'll have me,
Okay.
I guess. I don't know. I haven't decided that. I'm just into my first year, so it's
Trying
a
to
2-year
survive.
term.
Where I was going really was the question of, okay, so you've been at it now for almost 8 months, or about 8 months.
Right.
What's it been like? What have been the fun times, and what have been the not so fun times? Because in any job, and this is a non-paid job, there are fun and not so fun times. What was the fun time?
Well, you know, I'm a marketer, and so working on this campaign has been really fun for me because really any product or service or idea you're selling, you need to brand yourself. You need to define who you are, and that's what we're doing with this campaign.
Good.
So that's been really fun for me. We've had a great Lincoln Day dinner with Tommy Laren, another strong woman, and that's how we raised the money for this campaign. So that's been the good times. I guess the bad times, early on, there was some unrest in Spokane just about the new president taking office, and some people were not happy with that. I don't like to see the personal attacks on our congresswoman. being booed at a rally to celebrate civil rights and Martin Luther King. That's just not appropriate
because
to me,
honestly,
and
Steph,
that's not civil.
We Republicans would probably not do that at a public function.
Well, you look at a case in point, the 2 town halls.
Yes.
Kathy McMorris Rogers, our congresswoman, had a town hall. People were very disrespectful. I was shocked, really. I shouldn't be shocked anymore.
No.
I was out of town for Maria Cantwell's town hall, the first since 2009, I might add.
Yeah. Patty Murray hasn't had one, has she?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So
she needs to get her tennis shoes on and get
She needs to get to Spokane. That's right. But people on our side are generally we're respectful.
Yeah.
We don't shout down. We don't. We're not.
We counter with facts, don't we?
Yeah.
I mean,
I believe so. And I believe
tend
we have
to think
this on
we're
our
a more
side.
educated group in that we listen to facts and not just our emotions.
Right.
Right. And am I emotional when I see the flag? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I think just with my head? No, I think with my heart. So I get the emotional thing, but at some point, some on the left need to grow up.
Well, and you talk about facts. Again, we can go to history, and we can learn from the facts of history and how women got the right to vote and what Republicans really stand for.
Right.
So, facts are important, and we should not tear down history. We should not forget history.
Yeah. So what else is new at the GOP?
Well, we are still waiting to see who the third commissioner will be. I know you talked.
You don't have any insight on it?
Todd Mielke. I do not.
We won't tell anybody.
I do not. I've stayed in touch with Commissioners French and Kearns,
okay.
and hopefully we'll be hearing that news
Do you think
soon.
before Labor Day?
I would hope so.
Or is it too tough to put money on it?
Well, I'm not a betting woman, really, but so.
Okay.
Yeah, and elections are always a big deal, but really, there's no downtime when you are involved. This way.
I have described this election because we've done the Meet the Candidate series, and we're actually looking at doing some debates and so forth. And you look at last year, we had a presidential race, we had a governor's race, we had a U.S. Senator race, we had Kathy's race for the 5th, and then all of the state races and local races and you name it, what I would call a sexier race, okay? I mean, it just got more attention because of those running. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. But the fact is that we have city councils now. We have, from everything from Medical Lake to the Valley to you name it, Board of Education. And so not so much attention is on it. Yes. However, all things politics are local. And these are important races.
Absolutely. No, I've been preaching that for a while.
Yeah.
These races, these municipal races, those are the people who are going to affect your house payment.
Yes.
They will affect job creation or the lack thereof in the region. And I have criticized this city council from Spokane for
don't even get me started.
Trying to take on these national issues when they really should be focusing on
trying local, to run our businesses,
keeping it local, or staying out of the way. As it may be, but managing our tax dollars wisely. Making sure our roads are nice and smooth and everything. Those aren't the sexy topics, but
that's why we have local government.
Exactly. So it's getting people to understand that, and then also, probably with this campaign, we want to build for the future. We need to focus on the wins for today, but also build for the future.
Exactly.
And we hope this is a big step in doing that.
Great. Well, thank you for coming today. Best of luck. We'll help promote this because this is important.
It is.
This really is important.
It is.
And boy, I just never know which hat you have on because you have a corporate hat, you have a community hat, you have a fiance hat. I expected to see, a literal hat. Yeah. But are you having fun?
I'm having fun.
Good. Stephanie Cates, thank you very much. We will see you next week on Spokane Talks Live. Have a great week, everybody.
Spokane Talks Live is produced in Spokane, Spokane, Washington by Spokane Talks Online, LLC, which is solely responsible for its content. To recommend a guest or topic, or to see this program again, please visit our website, SpokaneTalksOnline.com. Spokane Talks Live is brought to you by our friends at Homes for You and Breakthrough Incorporated. Join us next Wednesday, noon, for another nourishing conversation on Spokane Talks Live.